Elise, can you get this? Hold on one second, folks. Hey, folks, welcome on board. Come on in the room. Let's see who we have on here. Sorry about that. My phone rang. Come on in. Let me wave at you. I'm down in the right, somewhere down here. If you're looking, come on board. Come on in. Super time. Fantastic. I can hear that fan. It's hot in here. Come on, let me see who we have here. Fantastic. Everybody, let me know. Who do we have coming on board here? Oh, it's a good crowd coming on. Let me know who's here. Let me set a few things. Don't have any poll questions today. We've got 1 minute before the hour. All right. Good morning. Tell me where you are from. All right, as we got people joining, it's 1 o'clock. Let me check my mobile phone here. I see you joining. I see you coming on. Can you see me and hear me okay? I'm going to wave again to the camera. Hello out there. I gave my cell phone to Elise, my assistant. All right, Michael or James from St. Pete. Is that Florida? I thought you guys were underwater. That's the other side. Jimmy Warren, Tom from Michael. Hey, Michael. Paul. Hey, Paul. In Lincoln, California. St. Pete, Michigan. Way to go, Michigan. Hey, Wendy, how are you? And I normally don't let people like you on the call, Wendy, so take this as a bonus, special gift for you. Hey, Paul in Ohio, fantastic. Michael, will slides be provided? I'm not sure yet. This is part of our certificate course, but we'll do the replay for those who are attending. And glad you can hear me. Do me a favor. Tell me who you are, and well, I see who you are, but where are you from? Let me know you can hear me okay. I've got my special bow tie on, my bow tie, and my wife thinks it makes me look professorly. Is that a word? Professorly? I don't know if that's a word or not. I think my head's cut off here. That's a little better. You can see the top of my head there. Fantastic. We've got Texas. Hey, I'm going to be in Texas. I'm going to be a whole week in Texas coming up here, third week in September. I'll be doing a LEAP symposium training on Tuesday, a client event on Wednesday, third week in September, and then I'll be presenting to Ed Slott Elite Advisors. They bought 325 of my books, and I'll be speaking there, and my session is open to anyone in Texas who'd like to come in and peek and get the full section. We'll be talking about a lot of fun stuff, things we won't be covering today, but some tax bracket bumping and some other powerful strategies. You don't want to miss it. All right, and we'll wait exactly 60 more seconds. But my name is Don Graves. I'm here in Philadelphia, Greater Philadelphia here. Home of the world champion Super Bowl Eagles. Now, the Dallas people get upset when I say that, and they like to hold up 5. That's how many championships they have, but that's okay. That's okay. I think we were still using 8 tracks the last time they won a Super Bowl. So Philadelphia, football season starts, and here in our hometown, that's like New Year's Day. Kids are out of school, barbecues everywhere. And so anyway. All right. Thank you all for being here. You may want to grab a pen or paper. This is being recorded. We're on the air, and we're going to start. We're counting this down. 18 more seconds, and we're going to start. I'm just really glad that you're here. I'm absolutely. Thank you, Paul. Go Eagles. Absolutely. And I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're taking time out. We're counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's get started. 5 ways The HECM for Purchase is helping clients create new dollars. 5 ways the HECM for Purchase is helping clients create new dollars. Well, I'm Don Graves. If you got on this webinar, you already know a few things about me. I'm in my 20th year as a home equity practitioner. I teach at the American College. I have an RICP. I help create some content for that. I'm a certification in long-term care. I just did my National Social Security Advisor training last Friday, and I'm a CSA and all that stuff. But apparently, I'm a subject matter expert when it comes to reverse mortgages. I'm going to close my window here, because every time I do a webinar, the trash people show up. I've got a few books, but most of all, most importantly today, for your sake, I'm a pracademic. That means I've walked a mile in your shoes. I know what it means, how you get up every day and you're running either to acquire new clients with investable resources, keep the clients you have, keep assets under management. Maybe you're new, maybe you're experienced, but I've walked a mile in your shoes. At the end of this broadcast, I'm going to tell you about the course we filmed at the American College that takes the information you're going to learn here today, puts it on steroids, and helps you to increase your revenue and your impact. HousingWealthCourse.com. We'll talk about that later. But it's true that today advisors are being asked to do more and to know more and to solve bigger questions. That's absolutely true. And the resources and what's driving that is it's just harder, right? The retirement landscape, we climb the mountain, and then in retirement, we get to the top of the mountain. We've got to come down, and we've got to help our clients come down. And that's where the risks and the dangers come in. There are 18 risks that the American College has identified that can totally wipe out your retirement. How do you manage your clients through that? Well, that's what gave rise to the Retirement Income Certified Professional designation. The RICP looks at these risks, and it spends 3 graduate level courses helping advisors to really become experts in the retirement income space. So the landscape is changing, but the face of retirement is changing. I love these guys right here. Who knows who these folks are? Listen, if you can tell me who these folks are, I'll send you a free book. Here, where's the book at? Let me hold this up. Listen, that's my new consumer book. In the next 60 seconds, if you can tell me who those folk are on the screen, I will send you a new book. But the face of the baby boomers, those on the screen, they're living longer. They haven't saved enough. 10,000 a day are turning 62 and a half. The majority of them just have not saved enough. Up to 68% of boomers are going to be carrying a mortgage into retirement. But do you see the last part on there? Look, where's the annotation tool at? There you go. 87% of boomers are going to own their own home. 87% of boomers own their own home. That's a powerful, powerful impact. Let me turn off this annotation. There we go. So 87% own the home. Up to 68% will be carrying a mortgage into retirement. Mortgage, home equity line of credit, second mortgage. Up to that number will be carrying that into retirement. So the boomers are sitting on a lot of housing wealth. As a matter of fact, it's the largest concentration of wealth that they have. Let me go through these questions here. I said, do you know who these people are in the picture? And I got a lot of Rolling Stones. Folks, I'm sorry. None of you all are going to get the free book today, because that's not the Rolling Stones. That's the Strolling Bones. Because they've gotten really old in our lifetime. But don't worry, there'll be another chance for you to get a book. The Strolling Bones. And so the advisor tools have remained the same. You've got your client's income, their Social Security, maybe they're still working their investments, their insurances, and I'm including annuities. But is that enough to create a sustained retirement plan? The challenges our clients face, there was just a study that something like 80% of CPAs tell that their clients' number one concern of running out of money in retirement. I was just out this week. Well, what happens when we add housing wealth to the picture? That's why you're here today. Adding housing wealth to the equation. Does that change the potential outcomes? Absolutely. Because if you're ignoring housing wealth, I don't know how you would consider yourself really a holistic, comprehensive planner when your clients are sitting on their biggest asset. The single largest concentration of wealth is in their home. Now, I had a fella who took issue with me with that. He said, Don, that's not true. My clients have $800,000 in savings, and they've got $500,000 in home equity. I said, yeah, but that $800,000 gets carved up, right? It's carved up between stocks, bonds, annuities, life insurance. I said, the single largest concentration is their housing wealth, and you don't know how to talk about it. And so today we're talking about reverse mortgages. And hey, Paul, you said I'm outside of Dallas. How can I attend this seminar? We'll send it to you. I'll be at the Galleria there, but I'll send you information later. So typically when I begin talking about reverse mortgages, advisors say to me, Don, they're too complicated or too controversial, too expensive. One fellow says, I don't like them, Don, because they're equity strippers. I said, I don't go to clubs like that. What do you mean? He says it doesn't leave anything for the family. I said, well, stay with me a few minutes and maybe that's not true. My clients have never asked. My clients will never need, or I would only tell my clients to do a reverse mortgage if it were the last resort, the last thing on earth. If when pigs fly, when fat ladies sing. So a fellow wrote me this email that says, Don, we're an independent registered investment firm. We have a lot of clients and they have a lot of money. And we've done a lot of research, and we don't feel the reverse mortgage is a prudent strategy for any of our clients. I was at the Arizona Institute for the Society, and I sent an email, and that's what he replied. And so 3 questions I typically now ask advisors, and even you on the call. Question number 1, what percentage of your clients who are at or in retirement do you think would have a need for a reverse mortgage? Don't answer that. But it's typically 5 or 10%. When I'm teaching this, I teach for the college. And advisors say, oh, Don, 5 or 10%. I said, great. What percentage of those clients would say they're 100% certain they'll have a great retirement? That's a small number too, isn't it? Not what we feel, but what they feel, 5 or 10%. And final question is, if there were a strategy that helped your clients increase their cash flow, reduce risk, preserve assets, improve liquidity, or even add new dollars back into their retirement savings. Here's the question. What percentage of your clients would want you to tell them about it? What percentage of your clients would want you to tell them about a proven strategy that allowed them to increase their cash flow, reduce risk, preserve assets, improve liquidity, or even add new dollars back into their retirement savings? 100%, right? 100% of your clients would want that. I want you to tell them about it. That's the new reverse mortgage. That's the 5 things it's designed to do. Increase cash flow, reduce risk, preserve assets, improve liquidity. And what we're talking about today is number 5, to add new dollars back into retirement savings. That's number 5. So how does housing, wealth, and retirement savings work together? To enhance outcomes and client satisfaction. That's what we're talking about. Mark and Linda here are retired at age 65, and I want to talk about before the housing wealth conversation. They've got $405,000 in savings, and their current lifestyle says they need to take out about $32,000 from that and adjust for inflation beginning the first year. How many of you know that's not sustainable? It's not. They've got a $535,000 home. It's got an existing mortgage, but they're also making a $1,400 a month principal and interest mortgage payment. And they're concerned, and they come to their advisor, and Linda's concern is she knows, she's done some online calculators. She says we're not going to have enough money savings to last us all of our retirement. Mark's primary concern is, I'm not going to be able to play golf more than once a week. Every time I go out more than once a week, Linda says, hey, that's too much. But after the housing wealth conversation, Mark and Linda were in a brand new home. They had no monthly mortgage payments. They didn't deplete their savings, and they were able to add $226,000 to what they already had. Before the conversation and after the conversation, there's a world of difference. That's what we're talking about today. How can you, the advisor, begin to incorporate the housing wealth conversation into your daily appointments to change this? Had a fellow said, Don, and I don't talk about this today, but he said, Don, I don't know who to talk to about this. I must have done a really bad job after that workshop because he didn't know who to talk to. And I said, well, how many clients do you have? He'd been in business 40 plus years. I said, well, just make up a number. He said 1,000. I said, you've got 1,000 people who are retired. 87% of them own a home. I know that. Are you telling me that if you reached out to them and asked them if you could talk to them about increasing their cash flow, reducing their risk, preserving assets, and improving liquidity, or adding new dollars back into retirement savings, if you sent something to 870 people who were homeowners and your clients talking about those 5 things, not a single one of them would want to know? He said, no, they all would want to know. I said, exactly. So today we're talking about the reverse for purchase, or the HECM for purchase. Some of you have not heard me before, so let me build a little foundation before we jump into that. What is a reverse mortgage? A reverse mortgage, 4 words, folks. It's just a mortgage. Next time you're at the barbecue of the family reunion and someone brings up reverse mortgage, and then your aunt tried to make a shiv or shank out of the plastic knife and fork before she goes after you, just say, wait a minute. It's just a mortgage. It's just a mortgage. It's been around for 32 years. Since 1988 as a part of our federal government. Listen, there are only 3 programs in the United States of America that are supported and undergirded by the federal government that have to do with retirement. 3. The first is Social Security. The second is Medicare. The third is the home equity conversion mortgage. Have you considered that this, as a federally insured line approved by Congress, signed by the president, overseen by the Federal Housing Administration, is one of 3 programs to support retirement? Social Security, Medicare, and the reverse mortgage. It allows those age 62 or over to convert a portion of their home's value, turn it into tax-free dollars without having to make a payment. You don't give up ownership of your home. You don't ever have to repay more than the home is worth. It must be a first mortgage, so any existing mortgages, liens, judgments have to be paid off. The amount of money you can get is based off of the age of the youngest borrower, the value of the property, and the interest rate. Now, I covered this in the basics course, which is not this, so I'm going a little fast, but that's okay. I'll give you some information later on how you can see the basics at no cost. You can have the money from a reverse mortgage in a lump sum, a line of credit, monthly payments, or a combination. And finally, the loan gets repaid when the last surviving borrower permanently departs the home, like a regular mortgage, right? And whatever proceeds were advanced that you borrowed, you're going to have to pay that back. Your client has to pay it back. So typically when the home is sold, you pay back what's owed, and 100% of the remaining equity passes on to the heirs or the estate. That's the reverse mortgage. Now I usually teach that about 40 minutes, and we go into the nuances and wherewithal. And LPL, the largest independent broker-dealer in the United States, developed a two-page handout for their advisors to read before they could talk about it. We turned that into a course for them. But for the rest of this time today, I want you to put your seatbelt on, because you're going to see some things that you may not have seen before. Helen Keller was once asked this question: is there anything worse than being blind? And she said, yes, having sight and no vision. 1964, Douglas Engelbart developed this wood block that would move something on the screen, and you click the top of it, a window would open, and no one could figure out what to do with it. 1964. 1979, Steve Jobs happened to see this invention in Xerox and said, this will change the world. And he went on to develop and put it out in the first Mac in 1984, 20 years after Douglas Engelbart had developed that. And no one knew what to do with it. It had been around 20 years before Steve Jobs. And Jobs went on to say, if Xerox knew what it had and had really taken advantage of it, it'd been the largest technology company in the world. So you can have sight, but not really see. I'm going to talk about some things today that I hope you're going to see and take advantage of a few things, because I want to help you be the superstar. I want you to be your client's hero. That's our goal today. I think the trash people are gone, so I'm going to open my window again. Hold on. Whew, that feels good. You know, a good breeze feels good. I'm from Kentucky. Anybody from Falmouth, Kentucky on the line? That's where my family's from. Daddy's from Falmouth. Mama's from Winchester. So I have Kentucky sensibilities. They'll come out today. Simplicity, honor, integrity, a handshake. Tell the people the truth. Kentucky sensibility. There are 5 foundations when we talk about the reverse mortgage Now, I'm going to condense 4 hours into 4 minutes, and then we're going to talk about the HECM for purchase, how you can create new dollars for your clients that can be used in a variety of ways. I want to get there. 5 foundations. The first foundation for the reverse mortgage or the home equity conversion mortgage is a line of credit. On the screen here, you'll see that a reverse mortgage, a $200,000 home value, produces a $78,000 line of credit. You see that? But the line of credit grows. It grows. So let's go over here to a $600,000 home. Produces a $242,000 line of credit. And look what happens to it. It grows. It grows. Well, this was the first big invention, the first big kind of discovery of financial advisors that went into the Journal of Financial Planning. It's called Reversing the Conventional Wisdom. This is what caused FINRA to change their position about reverse mortgages. Their position used to be that should be used as a last resort. It's not that anymore. So understanding this line of credit will help you and how it can be used to mitigate volatility and market risks and sequence risks, because correction is on the way. Boy, I wish I could spend time talking about that today. But Tom Hegner, some of you all know Tom Hegner. He talks about a 7 steps to retirement security. His step number 7 is use home equity wisely. In his book, Tom had me to rewrite that chapter in his book. So if you ever hear Tom speak or read his book, I rewrote chapter 7, and Tom said some really nice things about me there on that slide, but we don't have time for that. Foundation number 2 is reverse mortgage can be used not only as a line of credit, there are about 20 strategies around that, but you can take the money as a monthly payment, That's where we get into tax bracketing, bracket bumping, keep your clients in a lower tax bracket, bridging, Social Security deferral, and income replacement, pension replacement, whole strategies around a monthly payment. Foundation number 3 is the HECM replacement. That is, the majority of people, boomers coming into retirement, are going to have some sort of mortgage or home equity loan or line of credit. Years ago, we sent this example over to Money Guide Pro software, and we said to them, let's do a case study together. Now, if you use Money Guide Pro, they now have the reverse mortgage incorporated into their software. So does eMoney, so does most of the major players. But in Money Guide Pro, we just simply looked at this client here, and they had a big home there, and they had some money, and they had a mortgage, $170,000 mortgage there. See there at the bottom. And we asked the question, well, what happens if we got rid of their existing mortgage and it freed up that $1,200 a month? Would it make any difference? And the answer was yes. It made a huge difference. And so without doing reverse mortgages, they had a 58% probability of success. After incorporating, and this is not my software, this is Money Guide software, we showed what would happen if they would eliminate their monthly mortgage payment, allowing them to draw $1,200 a month less than what they were drawing. It moved them into a whole probability of success category, went to 96%. So it went from 58% probability to 96% simply by eliminating a monthly mortgage payment. And in this example, it allowed them to draw less from their portfolio. How many of your clients, think about it, how many of the retirees that you're in front of, that you already have as clients or you're looking to talk to, how many of them have an existing monthly mortgage payment? I want to tell you, half, at least half. I had a fellow called Merrill Lynch advisor call me and said, Don, my client's got $5 million in assets under management. And he's a retired CEO of a large multinational pharmaceutical company. He's interested in a reverse mortgage. That's great. He thought I would be surprised by that. I wasn't surprised. He had a $4.5 million home down at the Jersey Shore. And you know why he wanted a reverse mortgage? Because he put an elevator in. The elevator cost $200,000, and he borrowed again from the equity in his home. So over the years, he had borrowed and borrowed and borrowed on his $4.5 million home, and now he had $2.1 million in outstanding mortgages, home equity loans, lines of credit, brokerage loans, $2.1 million. His principal and interest payment was $21,000 a month. And he and his wife wanted to see if there was a type of reverse mortgage that would allow them to clear that $2.1 million and free up $250,000 a year. The answer is yes. There was a jumbo reverse mortgages that go up to $20 million or so, home values that you could do. So the reverse mortgage is not for the house rich, cash poor. It's certainly for them, but it's for those who want to use one of those foundations to get rid of a monthly mortgage payment. The easiest way for if you're doing annuities, life insurance, long-term care, disability insurance, for those over 62, the easiest thing for you to talk about to help your clients is how to eliminate a monthly mortgage payment. If you understood and knew the conversation and how to incorporate that into your conversation, it would increase your impact and certainly increase your revenue. Foundation number 4, the HECM exchange, which is a lot of people don't know you can make a payment on a reverse mortgage. You can make a payment on a reverse mortgage. Here's a client that had an existing monthly mortgage payment, and they said, Don, can we make a payment? I said, sure. They decided to exchange their reverse mortgage, but to now make a payment to the reverse mortgage. I don't know if you can see that over here, but they started with a line of credit of $71,000 there. And they kept making a payment of $841. So by age 75, their line of credit was $255,000. By age 85, it was $579. That's this line right here. So their loan balance went down, just like a regular mortgage. But here they've got $700,000, $800,000 out here. This is the easiest thing that you can do for your client. If your client has an existing mortgage payment and they're comfortable making the payment, understanding how to help them to transition and turn that payment into a deferred income stream, a reserve, a resource down the road is a powerful strategy. If you can see it now that this client, if they did that over here at age 85, if they decided to turn that monthly payment into a 5-year payout stream, it's $11,000. Why is that important? Age 85 is the average age people go on claim for long-term care insurance. That's just a strategy. This is the strategy that you begin to help your clients. Now, we're here to talk about the HECM for purchase. It's the 5th foundation. Let me pause right now. If you have any questions, if you've got a question before we turn our attention to this for the final moments we have, go ahead and type your question here now. I'll type the word question in question mark here, and I'll hit enter. And so we moved through that. Don, that you moved through that real fast. Sure, I did. Sure, because it's a 5-hour course at the college, and I want to get here. I want to get to how you can help your clients create new dollars. How you can create new dollars. So the 5 foundations were, did I put that up there? Maybe I removed that slide. I'm sorry about that. The first foundation was the HECM line of credit, the HECM line of credit. The second foundation was the HECM monthly payments, turning the reverse mortgage into a monthly payment stream. The third foundation was replacing your mortgage. The fourth foundation was exchanging your mortgage, using a reverse mortgage and then making a payment. And the fifth foundation is what we're talking about now. So if you got a few questions, Michael says, does the line of credit go up with real estate values when they pay down their HECM? The line of credit grows regardless of real estate value. Your home value, you could start with a $400,000 home and the home be $200,000, but that line of credit will continually be going up and increasing. So it grows irregardless of the home value. That's pretty spectacular, isn't it? That your clients can set up something that will grow. It's growing at about 5% today. Guaranteed, cannot be frozen, canceled, or reduced. And oh man, yeah. Listen, I'm going to tell you a way to get all of that. Let's talk about. And if you got a question, type it in. I see it. It's right over there. I get to see it. But the HECM for purchase, the home equity conversion mortgage for purchase, a new type of reverse mortgage that allows your clients to purchase their next home for around 50 or 60% down and have no monthly mortgage payment. It was created as part of the Homeowners Economic and Recovery Act 2009, 2008 after recession. A new type of reverse mortgage. How many of you have clients that have a home that no longer fits their need? One, because it's too expensive. Almost half of the cost in retirement are housing related costs. How many of you have clients at this home, it's too big, the kids are not coming back, it's too expensive, they don't want to do the steps, the yard work, mow the leaves, depending on what part of the country you live in. But retirees move because they want to be close to the family, want to reduce their expenses, change in health status. But the truth is, the National Association of Realtors told us that up to 50% of boomers are open to moving. They may not know how to do it. This is where the magic comes in. This is where your Steve Jobs imagination has to come in. Here's a flyer there. Says, are you 62 or better? Purchase a home like this at Eagle Point. Real pretty. And a lot of folks see that. They're driving home from church one Sunday, back from the grocery store, and the husband says to the wife, or the wife says to the husband, and he says, I know, honey, we just can't afford to get in there. They don't know. They don't know. And so here is a down payment guide. I want to send this to you, by the way. If you email me, this is a whole sheet here, and we laminate. Elisa, you have that lamination. I think it's in the other room. I'm going to show it to you if Elisa, my assistant, can grab it. I want to send this to you. But it's an easy way for you to help your client calculate a ballpark figure of down payment. You want to have that. You want to have that in your drawer, in your briefcase. You want to have that. But let's talk about adding dollars to retirement savings. How many of your clients would say, well, what percentage of your clients would say, I've got enough savings, I'm satisfied, I don't have any concern whatsoever? That's a small number. Don't type it in. Don't type it in. And but some of your clients would tell you that, right? A few. Those are the same clients. I just learned this the other Friday, that you can actually make a voluntary payment into Social Security. You can send the money back. So the clients who are sending the money back to Social Security because they say, you know what, I've got too much, I don't need it. This may not apply to them. Everybody else, it may apply. So let's walk through adding new dollars to your clients, and it's really simple if you know how to impart it into the conversation. So remember Mark and Linda, $405,000 in savings, $32,000 first year draw. They've got a home and they've got a monthly mortgage payment, and they're not going to make it. That's not sustainable. Linda knows that. Mark's concerned about playing golf. And so here's a question you can ask Mark and Linda. Screen save this right now. Would it be okay if we increased your cash flow, decreased your expenses, and added more money back into your retirement savings? Stop right there. You're sitting in front of a client. They're sitting in front of you. You're talking about, you're doing a review. Maybe they're a new client. They've got a fact finder. You see they've got a home and a mortgage and their savings. And somewhere in the conversation, you say to them, would it be okay if we increased your cash flow? Stop. They just yelled at you. Yes. Decreased your expenses and added more money back into your retirement savings. They said yes, yes, yes to all three. Let's expand that question. If there was a way we could increase your cash flow, reduce your expenses, and add new dollars back into your retirement, but it involved possibly moving to your next, last, and best home, would you want me to tell you about it? Would you want me to tell you about it? What's the answer? The answer is yes. Isn't it? Yes. So I want to give you 5 ways to add new dollars back into your client's retirement savings. Very simple ways that benefit them and will benefit your practice. The first way is downsizing. Downsizing. So there's Mark and Linda. They had this $535,000 home, right? We saw that. And they sold their home. They paid the realtor costs and transfer tax. They had $500,000 left over. They paid off their existing mortgage. By the way, when they paid that off, $1,400 a month payment, $1,400 a month, went away. That made Mark smile. You see him smiling? He's smiling. That made Mark smile. Now they've got $400,000 left over with me. $400,000. So they say, Don, okay, we're open to the strategy. And I said, well, they said, we've looked at a $300,000 home, and we can pay all cash for that. I said, you could pay all cash. But when you do that, something happens. When you pay all cash, you get a new home, no mortgage payments. You've got $100,000 left over, $400, paid for $300. But now you've locked up your cash in the home. What happens if the home loses value? What happens if you need to get the money out of the home? Is locking up proceeds in brick and mortar a wise financial strategy? I'm going to say to you, no, it's not. So the second option is, well, we can get a traditional purchase. We want this $300,000 home, and we'll just go here to Bank of America or Wells Fargo or Chase or Citi, and we'll get a mortgage. And they approved us for a mortgage of $126,000. Don, is that good? I said, well, it's better because now you've got a new home, right? You've got $226,000 left over. But what's the downside? The downside is we're right back to this monthly mortgage payment, which made your husband unhappy because he wanted to play golf. We don't want to have a mortgage in retirement. Is there another way? Yes. The HECM for purchase. The HECM for purchase. Same thing we looked at. Now, this reverse mortgage is going to make money available to them based off of their age, the value of the home, and the interest rate. It made $126,000 available. Therefore, when we subtract the 126 minus the sale price of the house, your client has to come to closing with a down payment of $174,000. Do you understand that? $174,000 buys them a $300,000 home. Where did they get the $174,000 down payment from? They got it from the proceeds from the sale of their house. They got it from the proceeds. Therefore, at the end of the day, your client has $226,000 left over. A new home, no mortgage payments. They didn't have to take money from savings, and they've got this money left over. Stop right there. Does that make sense so far? Your client was in a situation that was unsustainable, and we'll review that in a second. You asked them a question about increasing their cash flow, reducing their expenses, adding to their savings. They said, yes, I want to know about that. And you were able to show them very simple modeling on how they can do that, So what happened to them? Mark and Linda 2.0. We said Linda's concerned having enough money for retirement. Mark's concerned being able to play more golf. Did we increase their cash flow? Did we reduce their expenses? Did we add money into their savings? Well, let's see. They started out with $405,000 in savings, right? Started out with 405. Well, we added this money to it. Now they've got 631. So we added money into savings. They were going to take $32,000 from their first year draw. That was unsustainable. But when we eliminated their monthly mortgage payment, their draw is now only $15,200 of that number. That's very sustainable. We moved them from a 535 home into 300, so we reduced conceivably their expenses, and their mortgage payment is zero. Did you see that? A simple question helped Mark and Linda to absolutely restructure their retirement. You did that. You became the hero. Let me answer a question I think comes up later, but I want to answer it now. Because an advisor says, wait a minute, Don, wait a minute. The money that Mark and Linda had left over, yeah, that $226,000, yep. Can I do something with that? As an advisor? I said, are you asking if Mark and Linda come to your office with a duffel bag and they open it and there's $226,000 in singles and they toss it up in the air? You say to them, hey, wait a minute, where'd you get that money from? They said, we got the money from the sale of our home, the proceeds from the sale of our house. If that's what Mark and Linda came to your office and told you, could you do something with that money? Well, since 2009, we've not had a single issue from a broker-dealer, an insurance manufacturer, a regulator, nobody. Because these are not proceeds from a reverse mortgage, folks. These are proceeds from the sale of their home. See, if Mark and Linda sold their home and got a rental situation and then brought those proceeds to your office, could you help them? Sure. If Mark and Linda got a traditional mortgage like we described and brought the money to your office, could you help them? Yes. So the proceeds from the sale of a home, they showed up in your house. You can help them with those dollars. It's the only way. It's the only way that a reverse mortgage can be used directly in the advisor's world. There are other ways. I teach about 35 other ways, but the HECM for purchase is a powerful way to do that. Now, of course, check with your own compliance department, but since 2009, we've not had a single issue, not a single issue. So that's number one strategy. That's downsizing. When someone says, I want to upsize, I don't want to move down, the National Association of Realtors actually says that most boomers in retirement, when they move, are not going to downsize, folks. They're going to upsize. And that's odd. That's unique to me. So here Sam was here in Greater Philadelphia. He sold his home. He thought he was going to get $500,000. He didn't. He got $400,000. And the home he wanted was $600,000. So Sam can either take out a mortgage for the difference, right? He can take out a mortgage for the difference between those two, $200K. Sam doesn't want a mortgage. He says, I don't want that. He could borrow money, take a $200,000 from savings. He could take money from savings. He says, Don, I certainly don't want to do that. Well, Sam can do the HECM for purchase. The HECM for purchase made for him. He's a little older, $303,000 available. That means his down payment, he had to bring $297,000 to move into the $600,000 home. He had $400,000 left over. So when it's all over, Sam had no mortgage payment. He moved into a new home. He didn't pull from savings. He had $103,000 left to add to his savings. How did Sam do that? Sam did that because someone told him this was a possibility. He did that. He moved into a Toll Brothers community. The Regency at Yardley, Toll Brothers, there in Yardley, PA. Sam did that. The third way is someone says, I don't want to upsize and I don't want to downsize. I want to just move laterally. The home I have now has steps and it's got all of the, I want to move one of those townhomes where they change my light bulbs and do things like that. Great. They can pay cash for it, but you know what happens with cash. You want to lock up all your money in brick and mortar. What happens if the home value goes down? What happens if you can't get the money out when you want it? No, cash is not the way to go, particularly not these days. So they did the HECM for purchase. It made $192,000 available. Therefore, their down payment was $208,000. Where did they get the $208 from? They got it from the proceeds from the sale of their house. So you helped your client move to a home that was better for them, their next, last, and best home. They have no monthly mortgage payments. They didn't lock up their proceeds in uncertainty, and they've got $192,000 left over. The U.S. Census Bureau said, and they just reaffirmed this in 2018, that the average married boomer couple has less than $100,000 saved. If you can help someone move to their next, last, and best home and add $192,000, do you think they'd be happy with you? Oh, you bet. You bet. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we talked about the liberated proceeds. Don, what can I do as an advisor with those liberated proceeds? Well, they're proceeds from the sale of a house. If someone sold their traditional home, moved into an apartment, or took out a traditional mortgage and brought you the money, could you do something with it? Yes. Yes. And Michael says it's $208,000 in an equity line. Michael, rephrase that and say it again. I want to answer that. But as you're talking about that, I want to give you the last two. These are the advanced strategies. Now, you got to be super sharp for these. And that's typically the people who attend my phone calls, or the people who are super sharp as advisors. Don, can I do this right sizing strategy for my client and them have dollars to reimagine with me as their advisor, plus take advantage of that reverse mortgage line of credit that's growing 5% today, tax-free, cannot be frozen, canceled, or reduced? Sure. Here's two advanced strategies, and then I'm going to take your questions. So get loaded up for questions. Now, remember this reverse mortgage line of credit. The money in a reverse mortgage line of credit is going to grow. It's going to grow. You see it growing right there. Cannot be frozen, canceled, or reduced as long as the couple, you're maintaining the four requirements of the reverse mortgage. What are the four requirements, Don? At least one person has to live in the home. You got to pay your taxes, keep insurance in force, and maintain the property. Those four things. Most people show up on the front page of the newspaper not because the reverse mortgage did anything wrong, but because they didn't pay their taxes and thought the lender or the city wasn't going to do anything. You got to pay your taxes if you have a reverse mortgage or not. At least in Philadelphia, Falmouth, and Winchester, Kentucky. I don't know you boys in Michigan. Maybe you do it a little different. So how can we get our clients to take advantage of this, and be able to hand us a duffel bag full of some money as well? Well, let's look at this couple. Here, $400,000. They're a different couple, a little different age. So you notice they're going to buy a $300,000 home. And with the HECM for purchase, made $154,000. They've got to bring minimally $146,000. Minimally, they've got to bring $146,000. Well, Don, can they bring more? Sure. If they bring more, then it goes into the line of credit. Here's how it works. They decide to bring over here, instead of the minimal, they want to bring $100,000 or $270,000. That's what they want to bring. They only had to bring 146, but they want to bring 270. If they do that, here's what happens. They have the new home, no mortgage payments, 254 left over, but they said, Don, we want to overfund it. So when they overfund it, $130,000 in cash shows up at your office in singles in a duffel bag. $124,000 goes and stays inside the reverse mortgage, and it grows, and they have access to those dollars. Let me spell it out a little bit differently. The hybrid example. Your client was supposed to put down minimally 146. You see that? 146. They decided to put down 270 to overfund it, as it were. They had $400,000 left over. So they put down 270 and overfunded it. That means they still have $130,000 left over. That's what they brought to your office. $130,000 left over, and they have $124,000 in this reverse mortgage line of credit that's growing for them. You see that? That's crazy, isn't it? When I tell people this government program, government-sponsored program, has been around 32 years. This right here has been around 10 years. Most real estate professionals, is the overpayment subject to creditors? No, it's not. It's not subject to, not consult your attorney, I have to say that. But it's protected from Medicaid. Consult your attorney, because I don't know what state you're in. But the proceeds, the line of credit is not touchable by creditors, not touchable by the Department of Public Welfare when it's in the line of credit. I did a webinar for the Bar Association here in Montgomery County, right outside of Philadelphia, and we talked about this strategy. That's just advanced stuff. But your client can now purchase the home and have money for you, $130,000, and then $124,000 at this growing tax-free, cannot be frozen, canceled, reduced, and is protected from creditors. Absolutely. How did you help your client do that? You simply understood and you incorporated it into the conversation. Absolutely. Fifth and final for doing this. Bruce said, is there a commission for doing a HECM, or does one need a mortgage broker? Oh my gosh, you hear that? The trash people are back again. Hey, I'm on a webinar. They couldn't hear me. I was screaming at the trash people. Bruce had a question. Bruce, can advisors get paid for doing a reverse mortgage? Let me give you two answers to that. Bruce, answer is yes. Yes. If an advisor would like to become a licensed NMLS mortgage broker and do it, they can earn a commission, or they can become an employee of a W-2 employee of a federally chartered depository institution. Those are the two ways you can do it legally. Now, 20 years I've been doing this, and in my RICP course, we've got about 21,000 folk working their way through that. Here's my answer. You as an advisor don't want to do that. I discourage that with all my passion and being. And I'll help a person. They say, Don, I still want to do it. I say, don't do it. Don't do it. I said, think in the world of medicine, being a doctor. Both doctors went to medical school, and they did their internship, and one did a residency in gynecology and one did a residency in proctology. And so one's a proctologist, one's a gynecologist. They both went to medical school, but you don't want to get those two mixed up when you have an appointment. You want to be pretty clear. And so I'm encouraging advisors to stay in your lane. You can earn more money understanding and getting a certificate in housing wealth. You can earn more money, more revenue, impact more people, and you won't have a target on your back. And so, Bruce, that's my answer. Jimmy says, what happens to the excess line of credit money upon death? Jimmy, now you know the answer. Jim's my friend, but it's good. And thank you, Jim, for feeding me questions to answer people. The line of credit is money that's accessible to you. Think of it as a Visa credit card. It's in the home. If you didn't use it, it remains as equity in the home. It passes on to your heirs or your estate, or you in the case that you move. Thank you, Jimmy. Great question. Now, fifth and final, the power of making a payment. I won't cover this. I'll cover this quickly. One of my favorite strategies in the regular HECM, I alluded to it earlier, is to have your clients do a reverse mortgage when they already have a mortgage and make a payment. When they do that, two very important things happen. Number one, the outstanding loan balance decreases and the available line of credit increases exponentially, and it's accessible to them because it cannot be frozen, canceled, or reduced as long as they're meeting the requirements of the program. So let's look at this quickly, then I'll answer some of your questions. Here's the client we just looked at. They decided we're not going to overfund. We're just going to do the reverse mortgage as it stands. Great. And they said, but we want to make a payment on this. I said, that's fantastic. You're going to make a payment. How much you want to make? We're going to make a $1,200 a month payment. That's fantastic. And so here in this example, the principal limit, that's not what your client owes. That's a reverse mortgage term that I don't get into now. That's where the reverse and reverse mortgage comes from, negative amortization. So the principal limit is always growing. What your client owes, what they owes is whatever they borrowed from the HECM for purchase plus the closing cost. And that's the second line, the red line. That's the outstanding balance. Now, your client's going to make a payment every year. They're going to make a payment every year. So instead of the outstanding loan balance going up, what happens? It goes down. And when we subtract the outstanding loan balance from this, we get the line of credit. Now, again, I cover that in foundation number one. We didn't cover it here, but here's what I want you to see. As your client makes a payment, what's happening to this line of credit? It's increasing. It started out at zero. They made a payment just like a regular mortgage. And by the time we're 20 years down the road, they made a payment. They've got they have $500,000 in their line of credit. And if they died, how much do they owe the reverse mortgage people? $125. $125. So by having them make a payment, you've created a reserve fund that's accessible, can't be frozen, canceled, or reduced, can be converted to income or other planning opportunities simply by doing that. And those are the 5 strategies, or the 5 ways that HECM for purchase can add new dollars. Downsize, move vertically, move laterally, overfund and create the hybrid, or make a monthly payment. All of that leads your clients to have excess dollars that they're bringing to you. They're bringing it to you in a duffel bag with singles, and you're going to know what to do with it. I want to take some questions now in the time we have remaining, which is just about 10 minutes. I want to take some questions. So if you've got a question, go ahead and ask here, and I want to answer. While we're doing that, one of the things as you're putting your question, it takes it about 20 seconds to get to me after you type it in, because it takes 10 seconds for me to get to you. A lot of times, we attend these webinars and folk get excited, but you may not be fully equipped. I've given you the cake. I'm a sucker for pictures on menus. But right now, you may have the ingredients, milk, egg, butter, flour, baking soda, vanilla, sugar, but you don't have the recipe. So the ingredients are good. The picture is good. Oh, I want a cake. I want to do this for my client. That's fantastic. And keep asking your questions. I'm going to come to them. But I want to tell you about getting the recipe. Because once you get the recipe, that's when you're going to really be able to do something. You're going to forget some of this quickly. I want to give you some resources to do that. The one resource I want to make this book available. Hey, we got a new cover, by the way. Look at that. That's pretty. Got a new cover for it. Ed Slott wrote a forward. Tom Hegna wrote some things, some real nice things for me. I want you to get that. In this email here, you can go to housingwealthbook.com. I want you to get that advisor's guide. Get that advisor's guide. And then the Housing Wealth Certificate course, housingwealthcourse.com. That's where you get, it's about 4.5 hours. You'll get a certificate. It's eligible for some continuing education depending on your state and your designation. But I want you to go to housingwealthcourse.com. I want you to write that down. And I want you to go take a look at it. If you can invest 4.5 hours, that's a week. Most people do it in a weekend. Here's my promise. There'll be tens of thousands of new dollars and impacting clients that you never knew existed. And if it doesn't create that impact for you, we'll give you every dollar you spent back. Is that fair? You go to the housingwealthcourse.com. You take a look at it. And if you email me, you say, Don, I'm interested in that. Don't put it over here in the notes. You got to email me. We'll give you a discount. We'll give you a discount on that. So it won't be very expensive, and you got the money back guarantee. And I'm just going to give you some things. It's going to help you determine the client's willingness, explain your process, and it's going to give you the language to get some things done. So I don't want you to miss it. All right, let me go to a few questions. We have Jimmy. Jimmy says, if a mother, 81 years old, and her daughter, 53, own a home together, they get a HECM together, and the daughter stays in the home where they have access upon the mother's death. Jimmy, that's a unique question, and HUD has been looking at that. Right now, a mother and a daughter cannot get a HECM together. That a mother and a younger spouse, if mama had a 53-year-old spouse, they could get a HECM together. And now that may be changing. And the reason for that is that people just keep adding children to title. Well, I'm going to put my grandson on there, and he's 21, and they try to do that. So currently, my understanding, unless it's changed, that a mother, 81, and a younger spouse could do it, but not this. But let's say there's a younger spouse, Jimmy, and the 53-year-old is a spouse. And they get a HECM together, and the older one dies. The younger one is called a non-borrowing spouse, eligible non-borrowing spouse. And at the death of the older, the line of credit goes away. It would go away. Now, I've been doing this 20 years. I've had 16,000 conversations and 3,000 clients, and not once have I seen this. But it's good for conversation. Thank you for asking it. If you got some questions, fire them away. Paul says, what affects the growth rate of the line of credit? The growth rate of the line of credit is the 1-month LIBOR plus the lender's margin plus HUD's adds a 0.5 percentage point. And so whatever the 1-month LIBOR is plus the lender's margin, today it's somewhere typically between 2 and 2.5% in HUD. So if the LIBOR went to 0, the line of credit still would be growing at around 3%. If the LIBOR went negative, the line of credit would still be growing. Great question, Paul. Thank you. Bill, if I want to buy a quadplex, I don't even know what that is, Bill. You must be from California somewhere. Quadplex, I know what it is. And 1 unit and rent out the rest, can I use a reverse mortgage to help with the purchase? Yes. Yes, you can, Bill. And certain states, Texas may be one of them, has some particular guidelines for that. So, Bill, what I want you to do, and the rest of you all, ask Don Graves at gmail.com. Now, if you send me an email, send me your question or say, Don, I want the resources, I'll make available some things to you. Great question, Bill. But yes, you can buy as long as the one of the units is owner occupied. That's a great strategy. David says, what about traditional reverse mortgages where you turn the equity into an existing home into a lifetime payment? What are the income and other requirements? David, that's a great question. And what he's talking about is you get a reverse mortgage. You want to turn that into monthly payments. That's just a traditional reverse mortgage. And what we do, listen, this is some secret sauce here. This you want to write down. Housing Wealth. No, I'm not going to say it because this is going to be rebroadcast. You better write this down. I just put it up there on your screen. That's not for everybody. That's for those who are here today. If you go there, you've got a client. They may be fictitious or a real client, and you say, hey, how much can they get? What happens with the line of credit? Just go to housing. Oh, I almost said it again, didn't I? Just go to that place I just put on there and type that in. Let's see, 2-3 more questions. If you got it, you got 3 minutes. Type your question. Michael says 3 kids are the remainder men. Yes. All but one. All are over 66 years of age. Michael, I guess your question is if we've got a remainder man and there's type of trust and different things like that, there are different ways to structure it. We can do trust, revocable and irrevocable, and we can do some things even when we have the remainder men. I need some particulars on that, and particularly the state and a few other things. Just email me, askdongraves@gmail.com. Give me some details, and I'll tell you about it. Michael says, what's your email? I put it in the chat box. Michael, askdongraves@gmail.com. Can you use a line of credit for new construction? Wendy, great question, and don't know how to fully answer that. If you're saying an existing reverse mortgage line of credit, because you're going to do a reverse mortgage, Wendy, on your primary residence, So if someone says, Don, I got a traditional reverse mortgage and it had a line of credit, but I wanted to pull some of that money out of my line of credit and use it on a down payment for some new construction or a new home, you can do whatever you want with your reverse mortgage line of credit money, whatever you want. And I'm great. Michael, 2 more questions. Can a reverse mortgage be on the life estate? Yes. We need to look at the verbiage of that, Michael. Every state is different, but yes, there's an attorney would review on that. HUD has some provisions to allow that. Absolutely. And folks, I'm going to wind this up. Here's what I want you to do for me. HousingWealthCourse.com. I want you to go there. Because you're going to forget some of this stuff today. I want you to take a look at it. But if you were interested in anything I've sent, Don, I'd like to get the PowerPoint slides, or you mentioned some things, or I want to really begin to learn how to incorporate this. Because if a client shows up in your office for $253,000 or $153,000 or $100,000, how many times a month do you need that to happen for this to have been worthwhile? Not much, just one time. Well, we're going to show you how to do that consistently, because the truth is you're able to help your clients increase their cash flow, reduce their retirement risk, preserve their assets, improve their liquidity, and number 5, add new dollars back into their retirement savings. And that, folks, is what we have done here today. Send me an email at askdongraves@gmail.com, and I'll get you some special stuff. And this has been real good. I look forward to talking to you again real soon. I appreciate every one of you. Let me put my picture up there so you can see it. I appreciate every one of you. Bye for now.